בקטעי הופעות של יקטרינה מקסימובה וולדימיר וסילייב. צפייה מהנה לכם.
The Nutcracker. No other stage work goes to such lengths to capture the wonder, the energy, and the unbridled sense of possibility of the child's world. The Nutcracker is a joyous dream in which anything is possible. Toys come to life. Flowers dance before your eyes. And handsome suitors take us to a kingdom in the clouds. In short, The Nutcracker is truly one of the great classics of fantasy. The Nutcracker is the one ballet dancers love to hate. The history of the Nutcracker, one of the great ballets of the age of classicism, is full of contradiction. It's light and heartwarming, yet it's based on a tale by E.T. Hoffmann, a German author known for his dark, macabre stories. When the Nutcracker premiered in 1895, critics hated it. Yet today, it's performed the world over. There are more choreographic fireworks in the Nutcracker than in any other of the classics. Yet few dancers list it as their favorite. Why? For the dancer, the major bone of contention seems to be the story, or lack thereof. In a middle-class German home, a Christmas party is given for the two children, Clara and Fritz. One of the guests is Herr Drosselmeyer, an eccentric old gentleman who presents Clara with a special present, a nutcracker. As the party winds down, Clara clasps her nutcracker and falls asleep. When she awakens, the room is filled with mice. A battle ensues between the mice and the toy soldiers under the Christmas tree who have magically come to life. The charge is led by the Nutcracker. The Nutcracker is about to be attacked by the Mouse King, but Clara saves his life. As a result, the Nutcracker becomes a handsome prince, and Clara accompanies him on a journey to the kingdom of the sweets. There, Clara is transformed into the Sugar Plum Fairy, and in her honor, a grand divertissement is presented. The ballet concludes with Clara back in her home, waking up to find that it was all a dream. Though several different versions of the story are in circulation, their merits are the same: the story's seasonal setting and the childlike feel.
It has a real connection with Christmas, and with those dreams, and with the magic of Christmas, and with the magic of being a child, the magic of waking up that first morning with this quiet, soft, white snow, or the magic of waking up and smelling fire in the fireplace, and the magic of twinkling lights on the tree, and waking up and Santa Claus having left magically toys underneath your Christmas tree or right by the fireplace. And it's all about peppermint and holly and the smell of pine and snow sledding and all those wonderful things.
Though the public embraced the Nutcracker upon its premiere in 1892, critical opinion was not kind. Its failure marked the end of the age of classicism, that era of shapeless extravaganza that had followed on the heels of the Romantic period. No critic of the time could have guessed that these ballets would one day resurface and reawaken a deathless public appetite for what critics and dancers continue to take issue with.
It's a disease, yes. It's because I think they commercialize, the Christmas, and it's somehow in ballet, they have it there. So it's every Hicksville little town doing a version of Nutcracker. It's really incredible. And this went somehow to Europe too, because in England, it's so many Nutcracker. Every town, or they're touring it, every town somehow had a Nutcracker. It's really incredible. In Hungary, we had it, you will never believe. My childhood, every Sunday, 11 o'clock, we had Nutcracker. Autumn, winter, spring, early summer, we had Nutcracker. When I hear the music, which is so beautiful, really beautiful, but when I hear it much, I start itching. It's eczema time.
Then there are the holes in the scenario. Even Tchaikovsky, the composer, noted, "I like the plot of the Nutcracker, not at all. The ballet is infinitely worse than the Sleeping Beauty." Sadly, there was little Tchaikovsky could do about it. He was to have collaborated on the Nutcracker with Marius Petipa, the choreographer with whom he had enjoyed a successful relationship. Shortly before the rehearsals, however, Petipa took ill, and the choreographic duties fell to Lev Ivanov. As fate would have it, it was too late for Ivanov to make any changes either to the libretto or the staging. According to most dancers, sending the scenario out for a rewrite would have been a good idea. The plot is thin, and there is little of any character development.
And I think it's perhaps, again, because it isn't really, has not even as much depth as Sleeping Beauty as far as the role is concerned. It really is steps, and in the sense that the story is told through everyone else's actions, but not through your own personal experience through the ballet. It's more the events that happen. It's more the plot that tells the story, rather than the events that happen to you inside. It's the fact that you wake up and you are given a toy, and you dream, and you have this wonderful dream, and then you wake up again. And it isn't so much about your emotional journey as much as just what happens to you, the fact that your Nutcracker is broken, and then you see a fight, and you had this dream, but that's it. It's not sort of deep inside. It's not about falling in love. It's not about trickery. It's not about marriage. It's not about your evolution as a human being.
Once again, the Nutcracker is a ballet where really the male dancer is not an important central point. He is there to look elegant. He is there to partner the ballerina and complete the circle of fantasy, charm, beauty, elegance for Clara in the second act. He is really the partner, who, by the way, also happens to dance. That's really what the Nutcracker Prince pretty much is all about.
When the audience looking at Swan Lake, it's really not much happening for the prince, but you really have to making it inside, whether it's come across or not, the little nuances, the tiny little thing, you're able to play with it. In Nutcracker, you can't. It's just half a kilo of makeup, and then you have to look Prince Charming and get on with it.
In fact, so limited are the central roles in the Nutcracker that in this ballet, the emphasis is as much on the supporting cast as it is on the principals.
What's very important about the Nutcracker is the fact that you can have dancers on the stage from age of 10 to 60 who have worked together through the years and through the seasons and the traditions and have grown in those roles.
This entity is known as the corps de ballet, and in the Nutcracker they are of particular importance. The corps in ballet is what the chorus is in opera, or what backup singers are to a pop vocalist. The principal dancers are only as good as their corps. In Swan Lake, for instance, it's an integral part of the visual and choreographic beauty of the ballet. In Giselle, its spirited contribution often garners applause. And in the Nutcracker, because there are so many divertissements and so many interesting, if superficial, characters, the corps is as essential and as memorable as the principal dancers. In fact, in the Nutcracker, a choreographer may spend more time with the corps than with the leads. Some choreographers, however, aren't sold on this approach. Frustrated with the dance-only nature of this ballet, they try to de-emphasize the corps work and superimpose a stronger, deeper story on the Nutcracker, usually by adding interesting subtext to the central relationships. It's an idea that has sparked much debate.
But I don't think people should stop attempting to get new twists on these ballets, because I don't think the original choreography will ever be lost now. I mean, it's well documented. So, yes, I would like to see more invention. I would like to see ballet keep up with the theater in terms of invention and in terms of approach.
What I think must be very difficult for some of the more recent choreographers of the Nutcracker is that they get, ginky over it. And they try to find a new psychological angle, or and sometimes the result is really quite sick. And you've got this little girl who's at a party who's suddenly a sex object of somebody or other, and is she having a private affair with Dr. Drosselmeyer, this evil man, Well, frankly, it makes me vomit. I mean, really, you take a nice, if they want to do these deep, profound psychological things, let them do a new ballet. I mean, I think it's just laziness that they'll take an ordinarily, an already accepted ballet. They'll call it the Nutcracker. They know the people will come. It will be box office because it has the name Nutcracker. And they go and do these kinky things, and then you get people who have taken their little children. They thought, well, if this is the Nutcracker, I'm not going anymore.
But the fact is, even in its simplest form, there's as much for the dancer to like in the Nutcracker as there is for the audience.
The dancers who really, who still like to dance the Nutcracker, and they do. The principals find it very challenging. Technically, there are two difficult pas de deux in the ballet. The snow pas de deux is quite difficult musically and technically, and so is the grand pas de deux in the second act, the Sugar Plum Fairy and the Prince, of course.
What makes those moments difficult is that the technique in the Nutcracker is pure. This is a startling contrast to most other romantic ballets, in which dancers are attempting to create an effect. Take Giselle, for instance. In Giselle, the ballerina must create a certain image, and the choreography dictates that to create that image. Or in Swan Lake, in which the ballerina's body must be molded to appear bird-like. But the thing is, when you are creating a specific image like this, it is easy to cover up the flaws in your technique. But in the Nutcracker, there are no such effects to create. In other words, it's just you out there with your technique. What you do in the studio, in rehearsal, is transferred without alteration to the stage. But even dancers who aren't swayed by the purity of the technique in the Nutcracker can't dispute the winning diversity of the production.
When one performs the Nutcracker, one just sees the role you're performing in, and you don't realize how much there is going actually in the Nutcracker. When one choreographs the Nutcracker, you say, ooh la la, there's a lot more to it. Children, party scene, parents, second act dances that go from China to Spain to Russia. So there's a lot more to deal in the Nutcracker with than one realizes when you're just a performer.
Why shouldn't both sides of the footlights be impressed? In a typical production of the Nutcracker, there is more money on that stage than some dancers make in a lifetime. Few ballets are as expensive to stage as the Nutcracker. But then, few ballets make as much money. The Nutcracker, with its connection to the holidays and to the child's world, is a ballet for all ages. As such, it's the biggest drawing card in the business. In fact, the Nutcracker has probably kept more dance companies afloat than any other ballet. Is it any wonder that it's staged so often? And if many a dancer is sick of it, nobody has ever tired of its magnificent score.
The music alone, the Tchaikovsky music for the Nutcracker, is worth the price of admission. I mean, it's a wonderful piece of work. It's extremely well crafted. The form of it, the way it's laid out by the composer, is very important, I think. And if the choreographer follows the instructions of the composer and follows the tempi marks of the composer, you can't lose.
The Nutcracker was the second of Tchaikovsky's 3 ballets. Together, along with The Sleeping Beauty and Swan Lake, it forms the most memorable body of ballet music ever written.
Composers such as Minkus and Drigo, Dreary Drigo and Miserable Minkus, as they're sometimes dismissed, who were are now dismissed as hack composers of the time, in fact fitted far more into the mold of what was traditional, and that is somebody who provided melodious music with a very clear rhythm, to serve the needs of dancing. Tchaikovsky didn't do that, not in the conventional sense. He certainly provided wonderful melodies, and he certainly was willing to satisfy the rhythmic needs of dance. But there's a grander symphonic quality to his music, and probably more spiritual depth than people were used to in ballet music at the time.
Of all of his scores, many consider the Nutcracker Tchaikovsky's richest.
I think the score has interesting undertones. It's darker, it's more mysterious, and on a more minor key than the other Tchaikovsky scores. I think if you delve deeply, it has a lot of color to listen to.
Even dancers who have had their fill of this ballet can still be moved by the music.
Tchaikovsky, it's extraordinary music, and even to dance it still, the only thing that could possibly motivate me to dance it is the music.
That may not seem like enough of a reason for a dancer to give body and soul to something, but you have to remember, music is the most integral part of the dancer.
The music for me, I know now, without a doubt, was the reason, has always been the reason why I've danced. It was not as much a need to express physically as it was a need to express the music. It was the music that was my guide and my inspiration, and also by listening, I opened myself up to newness, because in fact I'd hear things for the first time, and then I was able to respond physically. No matter how many performances I'd done of Swan Lake or Nutcracker, if I really listened, I could really produce something new.
Without music, some would say movement is nothing.
In one sense, for me, they're inseparable. It's like that. Without heartbeat, there's no movement. It's not possible in a way. And the dance to silence, for me, doesn't exist. There is a suspended time, and there's a heartbeat. Even when there's no music that can be heard, we have music in ourselves.
And if we are to believe the dancers, without Tchaikovsky's music, the Nutcracker would probably be the antithesis of what it is, the most widely performed ballet in the world.
But if a dancer says it's an empty, bland work, then they have tin ears and no imagination and no respect for an audience.
Well, you know, people know that. Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Nutcracker, you know, they are, people are not afraid by those. They know what they're getting. So you have a head start if you're running a company or want people to come. Those are the popular ballets and amazing scores. Wonderful, wonderful scores.
Like the magical Christmas tree in Clara's home, the Nutcracker and the other great ballets of the age of classicism cannot be cut down. The Nutcracker goes on ad infinitum, filling our lives with magic.
Nutcracker, everyone always says, oh my God, again. And it never fails me when I hear that score and I see that tree going.
Same here.